Hey guys, CS here. I've been doing some thinking recently, and I might try to start up a YouTube channel just to talk about some CoH2 stuff and just gaming stuff in general. So I thought I'd go ahead and make this video. It's been something that's been on my mind since Western Fronts came out earlier this week. And I'm kind of disappointed in how much negativity I've seen surrounding the launch of Western Front Armies. So I just want to take a couple minutes and kind of talk about why I think Western Front Armies is the best thing that's happened to CoH2, possibly ever. The infantry patch and vehicle patches have been awesome, but let's go ahead and look at the Western Front Army. So, quick history lesson. For those of you who weren't around for the beta of Vanilla CoH2 or the launch of CoH2, there were like so many balance and design problems. I mean, snipers riding in M3s, Su-85s reversing at a million miles an hour while having focused sight, the flamer half track that would just keep shooting forever and kill everything. But on the design end of things, cover didn't really matter much, flanking didn't really matter much. You could just kind of oorah into MGs. Just a lot of aspects of the game were not very good, admittedly. I mean, I still loved the game, I still played it, but it could be so much better. And that's where we've gotten with CoH2. And what I would really like to point out is the way that Relic has gone about Western Front Armies versus Vanilla CoH2. I've spent a lot of time talking with the developers, talking with other CoH2 personalities, if you want to call them that. And a lot of people were really negative about the way in which Relic handled the development of Vanilla CoH2. They felt they weren't listened to, their concerns weren't taken seriously, etc., etc. And that's a big problem, especially with how much Relic tries to involve themselves in the community. So from my perspective, working a lot with Western Front Armies, working with people like Peter and Brad and Jason, Greg Wilson, Quinn Duffy, and them, they really, really listen to us, all of us testers. So when I first got access to Western Front Armies back in like April, I hated it. I didn't like it at all. I came this close to quitting CoH2. Like, I actually rage quit a game and just went outside and was pissed. Because some of their design decisions I thought were just so bad. And I don't know what I can say because of NDA, but suffice it to say, I hated it. So, I gave them the feedback. You know, I said, hey, this is not good, this is why I think it's not good, here's what I'll do to fix it. And other guys chimed in as well. We even took a poll of all the testers at the time, and I think something like 91% of us didn't like it at all, and weren't going to play it, didn't want to buy it. So, huge props to Relic in that they listened to us, like, amazingly. So they completely redesigned Oberkommando West, except for the units. The units stayed, their tech structure completely changed, the placement of the units in the trucks changed, the way their economy changed, the way the trucks worked changed, just everything. The Oberkommando that came out on live is completely different from what we first got. And even with the US is very different too. For example, like the ambulance went under a whole bunch of different changes. Some of their unit placement, changed. Their base kind of changed a bit. So I really just want to impress upon people, and this is the most important reason I think Western Front Armies is the best thing to happen to CoH2, is that Relic is 100% invested in the community from what I've seen, and they really do listen, and they act upon our feedback directly. And that, like, how many other developers can you honestly say do that? And so that's why I think people should be really positive. We have a great group of balance guys. Sure, there's balance issues. There's always balance issues when new stuff like this comes out in RTS. It's just how it works, right? Like Noun said on the forums, within the first day or whatever of Western Front Armies launching, they had more playtime than 10 years worth of a QA department, trying to balance stuff. So anybody that thinks balance in an alpha, beta, a patch is easy to attain is just, you're wrong. I'm sorry. So, that's the big positive thing. Now that that's out of the way, I guess the other thing I wanted to touch upon real quick was that people seem to think these new armies are like blobby. They think you just like spam stuff and win, and I think that's really wrong. I mean, I'll admit that my first impressions were somewhat similar, but I think as you play, you're going to discover that that's really wrong, and it's even more wrong than for vanilla CoH2. So let's just take a look. So people think blobbing is a problem. I would argue it's not, because these armies have access to amazing suppression tools. The Oberkommando has access to a really early flak half-track that not only does a lot of damage, it also suppresses things. They have the Kubelwagen, which, sure, it's fragile, but it's an amazing suppression tool if you micro it. They have doctrinal MG34s, which are my favorite MG in the game. I don't think they're the best, they just suit my purposes the best. And so to me, it's really easy to stop rifle blobs, which is something that a lot of people have complained about, that I've seen on the forums, that I've seen on streams, etc., etc. As for the U.S. forces, people complain about Stern Pioneers, they complain about, stuff like that. I mean, you have volley fire from your echelon, that shuts down Stern Pioneers. Put your rifles in cover, that's going to stop Stern Pioneers. People, they'll run their rifles into my green cover Stern Pioneers and then whine that Stern Pioneers are overpowered. Which it doesn't make any sense. Like, you're fighting the unit totally wrong, you're using your unit totally wrong, and then you're going to complain that you're losing the fight. Like, would you run your conscripts into green cover P-Grens? No. Like, anybody who would run their cons into green cover P-Grens and then complain about losing is just silly, in my opinion. Not only that, I mean, the U.S. has, the riflemen are so good. Just put them in green cover, put them in yellow cover. Your DPS at all ranges is amazing, especially once you get bars or 30 cal MGs. They're just so strong. The other thing that people say the game is just spammy, attack movie, whatever, blobby. Obercommand and US have the easiest access to light vehicles. The M20 is great, the US flak half-track is great, the Obercommand flak half-track is great, the Kubelwagen is great. You have all of these tools, and there's so much more build diversity, in my opinion, than in vanilla CoH2. And I think that's one of the things that makes Western Front armies great as well. Soviets had a lot of build diversity, and that's one of the reasons they were my favorite faction in vanilla CoH2, even though I probably played more Austere. But Austere, while I love them, and always will, because P4s and their tanks are freaking awesome, I love their tanks. Your general game plan is get some Grens, maybe get an MG or two, get a light vehicle, and then get some tanks. And I mean, it worked, but in terms of actual strategic depth, I think the Austere was pretty shallow, admittedly. Whereas these new armies aren't at all. For Oberkommand, your tech choices are so important, whether you want to get a Puma to counter their half-track, whether you want to get an Infantry Geschütz, which is another anti-blobbing tool. Excuse me, the IG is awesome. I get it almost every game. I just don't... I think that anyone who right now thinks that Western Front is blobby, spammy, anything like that, more shallow. I think you really need to invest more time playing the game and learning what the new units do. Another quick example before I wrap up, so this isn't too long. So I've had people say that Fallschirmjägers and Obersoldaten are the same unit, and so they're redundant and pointless. When really that's, they serve the same role, okay? Conscripts and penals serve the same role, but they do it in such a different way. Obersoldaten want to be in the back, in cover. You want them standing still, and that's how they do their job. Sure, they both kill infantry, but that's how they do their job. Fallschirmjägers, on the other hand, they want to be as close as possible. They want to flank. They want to be, moving and shooting, because they don't lose that much DPS from moving and shooting. So I really think people just need to explore the metagame more, let it develop. I mean, I've been playing this since April, although it's changed drastically since then. But yeah, just give it a chance, guys, and just take a step back and realize that we're pretty much all noobs again. And I think that's one of the most exciting parts of an expansion like this, is that there aren't these almost perfected build orders coming out from people, in tournaments like Barton and Twister and OMG Pop and them. So you can really take this time to innovate and create your own build orders. And maybe you can, post stuff on CoH2.org, make some strat talks or whatever, and kind of make a name for yourself in that sense. There's just so much unexplored territory, and I'm really excited about it for, Relics listening to us. They're invested. They have more communication than ever before, in my opinion, at least that I've seen. And these new armies, they're great. And I think that a lot could be done to help the old armies be as diverse as these. And I mean, if we could take the level of depth in the U.S. and Oberkommand and transfer that to like the Oster and or the Soviet, we could have four just like freaking phenomenal factions, and the game, it's already awesome in Western Front. Cover matters, tactics matter, flanking matters, all the important stuff that you want in RTS matters in the Western Front, as well as build diversity. Just give it a chance, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Thanks for watching, and just leave any comments, I guess, on the YouTube video, send me a PM on Steam or wherever. And depending on the feedback, I might do some actual strat talks, go over some stuff like that. So hopefully you guys like it. Just let me know what I could do better, what I could talk about in the future, maybe give me some ideas to talk about, and that'd be great. And cheers, guys. Thanks.